Okay. Thank you, Davin, for being here to interview with me. I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself to the audience.
Great. So thank you, Layla. My good afternoon. My name is Davin Bernstein. I am running for City Council Place 3. And I hope that in the conversation that we have this afternoon that I will demonstrate for you that I am the most qualified and the most experienced person ready to serve on City Council.
Perfect. All right. On to question one. Why are you running for city council and why should voters choose you over your opponents?
Great. Okay. So I am running for city council because I have been a longtime member of the city. I've been involved in lots of aspects of the city governance, joined leadership Coppell and learned a lot about how the city is run, joined um, different communities and activities since then, working on 2030 plan, working on 2040 plan, more recently in allies and community. And this is a great place, and I believe that it can be better by listening to its citizens and all of its citizens. And I've been involved in city council meetings for years, wondering about how we can do that better and raising issues, raising questions in an effort to do that and in order to provide a better process for citizens so they can understand what the city is doing, how they're spending money, how they're particularly when it comes to big ticket projects. And so I think I'm the only person in this place 3 race who has been as involved in all aspects of the city, and that's just talking about the city. That I also have a lot of community involvement, both at my church with scouting and participating in other activities at the Metro Crest Services Center and so forth. So I think I have a good all-around understanding of what the city can be and where it's going as it seeks to start to implement the 2040 plan. And I think I'm ready to go on day one to help involve all citizens in those decisions that we're making going forward.
Fantastic. Sounds like you have your hand in a lot of things around here in Coppell.
Yes, I do.
I did leadership Coppell too. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is a fantastic program. I would encourage anybody to do it.
I agree. Okay. What are the two or three most important actions you would take if elected, and how would you advance them and pay for them?
Right. So I think certainly efficiency in the basic city operations is critical, right? And so obviously, right, we have to make sure those things are done efficiently and well cared for, and letting citizens know right as those things are coming up. So we can talk about, for example, the water rates, right, which is not a very sexy topic, but it impacts every single resident of Coppell, and so understanding what those are. For example, there's a situation today where the sewage rates that are charged for water for residents is at such a high rate that they'll charge that you'll be paying for sewage rates could potentially twice what you're actually using in water that goes into the sewer, but those rates have not been adjusted to reflect it. And I've been involved in the city discussions and I've heard the discussions back and forth. And at the end of the day, we're way off and we're not competitive. We're not doing what virtually all the other cities are around us. And I want to be an advocate for that type of correction of the basic city services. So that's one area that I think the city needs to do a better job of serving its citizens. Another area that's a little bit more fun and exciting is that as I look around at the assets that the city has, right? Certainly the park system and Old Town Coppell, the art center that we recently built. I don't know that we've kind of fully integrated them into the community. So what do I mean by that? Drive down Sandy Lake Road, and what you'll see is a somewhat of an older city look, right? You'll see wooden fences that are totally not matching. And this is one of the two primary roads that goes through the city, Sandy Lake and Denton Tap. So why has the city not addressed the park-like atmosphere that we could have along Sandy Lake between MacArthur and Denton Tap? that type of integration of a full atmosphere into the city, and having, for example, a welcome sign, right? Right now we have 2 posts and canvas banners that are kind of flapping in the wind at MacArthur and Sandy Lake, right? And this is the way we communicate with citizens, right? So my goal on city council would be to present to citizens a more integrated approach, a more integrated design that brings the parks into what people are going to see when they're driving through the city. Parks are really important to citizens, and Old Town is really important to citizens. We've spent millions of dollars to build a fantastic facility, and we have at most, I believe, 1 or 2 restaurants down there, and certainly one that's on the square. And that's not enough to sustain that type of vibrant community that we thought it would be. We need to expand what Old Town is. We have a good core, but it's not a place where people are going to go, in the evening to pick up a show, grab a bite to eat, and have other activities that are going on. And so I really think that as a city, we need to say, hey, if this is where we have invested, let's explore what it would take in order to make Old Town a real vibrant, jewel, compared to other destinations that people can go to around the Metroplex. And again, I think we have some parts of it there, but we don't have enough that reaches what I would call critical mass and is really going to be an attractive place for citizens and maybe even people from outside the city to come to. So my approach on city council is to really look at those areas that would make the city really stand out and pop, present them as opportunities to the citizens. And then the third thing, which underscores all of those things, is to improve the process of collecting citizen feedback. And that doesn't cost anything. But really what we're doing there is making sure that citizens understand that it's not early on in the process and it's not a few people in a back room that are deciding how things go, but that there's well-defined times when citizens input is solicited, such as when a design is created. At that point, we go out and we ask citizens what they think, and then we pull that information back, improve the design, put it out again for a review. People understand what the cost is, not just the cost to actually do the project, but to maintain it. And then the citizens have an opportunity to weigh in. And so what I've seen in the past has not really lived up to expectations of real community involvement, giving people lots of time to understand what the design is for a project and allow people to provide their input on it. And we can do that in a lot of different ways. We don't need to require people to attend a city council meeting, as we've learned in the past year from the pandemic. People can provide inputs online. They can provide comments. They could even provide Twitter feedback, right? If they know what the project is and they're able to find it. So that's the sort of thing that I really want to bring to city council, is how are we engaging citizens on a really, right? We should be engaging twice as many citizens, right? That should be our goal, right? Not that there were 10 people or 50 people that came together and said, I want to do this, but that we had 100 or hundreds of people that knew about the project, participated in providing input. And at the end of the day, city council is reflecting a much broader cross-section of the community. So those are, I think, 3 examples of ways that I want to improve the community that citizens would see on a regular basis.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, number 3. Where does the development or redevelopment emphasis need to be in your community, residential or commercial? And how is Coppell performed in this area?
Right. So Coppell is a bedroom community, right? There's no doubt about that. And we're pretty much built out. And so that residential community is what we like, right? We like the quiet streets. We like, being able to very quickly get on and go anywhere in the Metroplex, right? Our geographic positioning is close to the airport. And so we have to protect the residential character, the quiet nature of what we have in the city core. But we do have opportunities commercially and in terms of other types of development, right? When we think about there's going to be a DART line that's going to be going through the city, and there's going to provide opportunities for development there, that can bring in really neat opportunities, both in order to provide Coppell residents with closer and improved shopping, that can really integrate well into the community and be make our community an even better place to be. So I think that commercial development along that line, in a way that does not interrupt the quiet nature of the residential areas, is going to be a critical part of what our community needs to deal with, in the next couple of years. So I want to be a part of that. So I would say it's mostly commercial. I already mentioned Old Town. That Old Town is a residential and commercial area. The residential area is I think it's pretty well defined in terms of the look and the feel and what people who buy houses there are looking for. That commercial area needs to be tweaked there as well. Different type of atmosphere that we're trying to create there, but really want to make it a place around the art center, around the park in the middle, that we want people to come to for the farmers market, and any other time they just kind of want that small town feel. And so I think those are two areas. But part of what I'm talking about in Old Town is that we're going to have to reassess what gets done with the commercial land around Old Town. And so right now we have a lot of warehouses, and if we want to grow Old Town to have that level of commercial activity that will really attract citizens to come and spend some time down there, we're going to have to retake a look at what is going on in Old Town and where can we pull additional opportunities for development that will be useful. One example is years ago, right? We had some great land along 121 that we could have used for commercial development, and instead it was used for residential housing. That's the way it was zoned. To me, that didn't make any sense, because you took the noise of the 121 and the easy on, easy off location, and you took away those commercial prospects and made built houses right near a very important thoroughfare. Those types of common sense decisions need to be really looked at and challenged, so that we're making good decisions about what development opportunities we have left in Coppell, and making sure that what comes in is really going to build on what we've already got, which is a key residential, very quiet area that most citizens have and enjoy, but also the access to an updated, revitalized commercial area that citizens are excited to go to, that's here in town and not elsewhere.
Makes sense. I'm very invested in the Old Town area, especially since I'm here right now. But I really do, I do love it over here. A lot of potential. All right. Does Coppell deliver services in the most cost-effective manner? Please be specific about improvements you would advocate.
Right. And so I say this, I would say that the city does a good job in that area. I think that there's opportunities for improvement. I already explained about the way sewer rates, again, not a very exciting topic, but it impacts citizens. And we know we have to cover the cost, but I've actually looked at the cost of what Coppell residents pay for water compared to cities around us. And we actually are, except for a very small city, Addison, but for our size city, we're paying more for water than all the cities around us. Citizens are charged more for water, right? And the city has not benchmarked in that way in order to say, hey, why is this happening and what do we do about it, so that our citizens are not disadvantaged, right, in this process of being charged for water fees. And that applies to all the other services. We don't want to, we're not going to put our public safety at risk. We have a great fire and rescue and police force, and I would absolutely not want to do anything to hurt them and want to improve them. But we can be more efficient about how we manage through the budgets that those organizations have. In the past year, I know the police chief did a fantastic job of taking a look and cutting the fat. I think he cut about 10% out of the budget, a little bit more than that. And that's really great. And that means that we're now at a point where we have to be, we probably have cut that fat out, and we need to just be really mindful as we move forward to make sure that we're being cost effective about our investment in those core city services. So those are some examples of areas that I want to focus on. If I can spend a moment to talk about my background, I have an MBA, and I've been involved in the city. I have a degree in government, and so I really understand, from a financial perspective, how these things happen and how they work, and the budgeting process. Working in large corporate companies, there is a process, and it takes a while in order to schedule things and so forth. So I understand that, and I understand how that happens in the city, but really I can contribute a lot in terms of making sure that those investment dollars are really carefully spent and are most efficiently spent in a way that I don't think anybody else who's running in this race can do.
Fantastic. All right. And lastly, please rate the transparency of decision making in the city.
Yeah, so this is a fun topic, right? Because I think transparency is really critical and very, very important for the citizens. Most citizens are not involved in going into City Hall lobby the Friday before a city council meeting on Tuesday in order to see what the topics are and see if they're going to be impacted. It just doesn't happen. Most of us are busy living our lives. But there are other avenues in order to get those topics out. We certainly have social media, and I know the city has accounts in that area. And from a public affairs perspective, we do communicate out events that are happening. But when I talk about transparency, right, I really talk about the ease of which a citizen can find out about a topic that they're interested in, and be able to get the information they want, and be able to provide feedback, so that when the city council has a decision to make, or maybe it doesn't rise to that level and the city is making that decision, that the citizens are involved, right? So what makes a dynamic community and a transparent community is one where the citizens know what's happening, are able to find out about it, influence it, and feel good about the process. And this is, to me, the most important thing, is at the end of the day, everybody understands that they're not always going to get their way, right? We're just too many people just on city council. There's 7 voting members. And so it's too hard to say, everybody gets their way. What every citizen should feel like is that before a decision was made, that they were heard, and that the city council deliberated with all the proper facts before making a decision. And that's what I want to make sure of. I will oppose a vote if there is more information that we can collect and it's not going to impact the delivery of a service. If it's critical, that critical timing might be different. But I believe that the city has a lot of opportunities to increase that transparency, so that people can find out about things that are happening and provide input to them. I've been involved in a lot of different meetings, right? When we were working on the big projects for the city, in the parks development, and some other projects, right, that ended up not happening, right? And there was citizen feedback that was involved in them, but it ended up kind of being, okay, let's have an opportunity, and we'll solicit feedback, and then we're going to do what we were planning to do anyway. That doesn't sit well with citizens, and I've seen a lot of citizens walk away somewhat frustrated when that happens. We can always have very defined processes so that citizens know when they can provide input, where that next opportunity to provide input is. And so I think that we can increase transparency, not from the the city does a great job at making information available, but we can do an even better job at involving citizens in those decisions, so that they feel good about what the community is doing at the end of the day.
Great. Well, that is what I have for questions, Davin. But I wanted to give you a minute for those of our viewers watching these candidate interviews, if you wanted to have a closing statement.
Sure, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yeah, and so one thing that I did want to talk about, since this is a chamber interview, is the importance of the chamber with the city, right? And so I think it's a very important member of the community. I was on the Economic Development Committee, and we have members, right, that are involved in both organizations, and I think it's really important. There's two major types of commercial activity, right? There are the big businesses that might have big warehouses, and then there are the small businesses. And I think that partnership that the city has with the chamber is really important, and I want to grow that. And I think we've seen that, right, in the pandemic. City's done a great job of providing opportunities to assist small businesses. Mindy's done a great job with that, and absolutely something that is just really important to me, right, based on my business background and based on my history of service with the Economic Development Committee. But I want to, again, kind of try and bring that to the next level and make sure that we really have that dynamic community where citizens are involved in decisions and new businesses that are coming in, not from the standpoint of being able to say yay or nay, but from the standpoint of increasing that partnership of people that are involved together to make our community better. And so I really hope, and this is really the message that I want to get across, is that running for city council is an opportunity to facilitate that with you can call it a bully pulpit, right? And I really do want to champion that. There's a lot of citizens, there's a lot of small businesses and members of the chamber, and we need to find ways to come together in order to help businesses succeed, and at the same time, right, deliver services that the citizens want to have. And so, how do we do that as we look at those development opportunities that we have in those areas around town that I talked about, and even new ideas, right? How do we bring that to bear? Those are the sorts of things that I really want to focus on as the city council member. So my objective at the end of the day is to really listen to citizens. I don't have a hard agenda that I want to get this thing through, and I don't think that's really good. As a matter of fact, I had a former city council member say, those aren't the kinds of people that do well on council, right? What I'm really interested in doing is helping to shape a consensus among a broad cross section of citizens that this is where we need to focus, or that's where we need to focus. Let me give one example. I understand that the core is decreasing the hours that it's open. And I don't think that's a very healthy thing, because I think that the athletic facilities in the city are really important. And when you change the closing hours from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m., then we're kind of denying citizens the opportunity to be involved and in a way that is useful for them. And so I don't know how much citizens were consulted in that. Library is not open on Sundays right now. I don't think that's very useful. And I think that bringing citizens together, community members together as well, right, the chamber, so that we are working through these issues collectively, is really critical. And that's what I hope to do on city council. I'm the only one who has really been involved in the wide range of city issues. I've been out there. Sometimes I've been attacked. Sometimes I've been praised. But I will say that what I consider most important in terms of feedback I've gotten is that several people very closely involved in the city have really thanked me for highlighting the way that the city is communicating with citizens. That kind of brought about the opportunity that the city took to explain to citizens the new projects that were going on under the 2030 plan. As we start working on the 2040 plan and where our community goes forward, I will absolutely be very involved in making sure that we grow, not just in projects that this city produces, but as a community that's really tied together, and a community that really is a very broad cross section. That was my involvement with Allies in Community, is to understand how different perspectives are brought together. And what we learned is that we make better decisions when we solicit that broader input. So that's what I hope to do on city council. And I would ask, if you're still listening to me at this point, I would really ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Davin Bernstein. Thank you for being here to speak with me today. And for all of you listening, Davin, you are running in
Three.
place 3. All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks,
Great. Thank
Davin.
you so much.
Uh,